And we're now down to our last step in the annotating process that we're learning, and that is to write side notes or summaries for our paragraphs. And as the modules page noted, we don't have to write a summary for every single paragraph. What I normally recommend is maybe chunking up the paragraphs. For example, if maybe let's just say the first two paragraphs were about the same topic, you could write a short little summary over here on the side, covering a summary for both of them. Or if you want to just write little comments, it could be for each one. And normally, as I said, I would recommend writing it here on the sides, either on the left or right or both. You can put little comments. As for the comments themselves, it can be a comment, something as simple as, wow, unbelievable. It could be a question, where is she getting this information? Something you were wondering about as you were reading. It could be a prediction. I predict that later on this is going to happen to a character. Maybe you're reading this in a book and not just this article. It could be a connection also. Something like, I saw a movie that was similar to this, and it reminded me of what happened to that character in that movie. All these little activities of writing those comments and those ideas and the summaries is making your brain think more about the text and the article, and therefore it'll help you both remember it better and understand it better. So this engaging, interacting with the text is just really a great way to learn any college level text and beyond in a great way. So as to practice, now I can't really write myself here on little comments. I wish I had maybe a document camera or a way to scribble something here on the side. But for example, here for this first paragraph, a comment that I might have put right here on the side. Oops, I wouldn't use that. But here on the side, I might have put something like, is Todd a real person? Was it really only, it says here that he took a few swallows. It was 7 of them that made him sick. Was it really 7? How badly was he injured maybe? Or I can make a connection. I would say I had a friend in high school who also got sick the very first time he was drinking from something, and he also maybe almost died. That could be a good connection if I had a similar incident happening while I was in high school. And again, the predictions, comments, all those would be good also. Some comments that I normally see are things like, where is she getting this information, or can we really trust this person here? So again, if you want, I'll give you a few minutes. If you want to pause the video here, go ahead and make a few comments. Go ahead and maybe pick out 3 or 4 paragraphs. If you want to chunk a couple of them up together, or if you want to just write little comments on the side, just as an example, go ahead and do that for any the paragraphs that stood out to you, maybe 3 or 4, and then go ahead and start it up again, and we'll go over maybe a couple of ones that I might have put as well. Okay, so hopefully you were able to put down maybe 3 or 4 comments. And again, it doesn't have to be every single paragraph, but you definitely want to engage with as much as possible and kind of chunk a couple maybe to make it a little easier for yourself as well. Some good ones that you might have put, especially down here, I know we spoke about it just a little while ago when we were boxing the evidence. Drinking plays a role in over 6 million injuries. I know a common question that I see here on the side is, according to whom, or where did she get this information? And maybe somebody might put something like, is this recently, or is this from last year, 2 years before? How far back is this going as the research is trying to prove this? That would be a good comment or question there to put. Sometimes somebody might put a comment like, wow, that's really unbelievable, I didn't know it was that much. Those are good comments as well. Sometimes I see some comments about connections. Somebody might put, oh, I saw a commercial or a video in a movie or something that was similar to this, and they'll put a connection there as well. So those would have been 2 good ones there if you had thought of something similar as well. Maybe here one more in paragraph 5, the assertion among students the heaviest drinkers have the lowest grades. Maybe a comment would be, yes, that makes perfect sense to me, or where's the data? A good question would be appropriate here as well. How do we know this for sure? So again, you want to use the margins to your advantage and put comments, questions, predictions, or summaries. You can summarize maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs, maybe the longer paragraphs. A good summary that would be helpful. So sometimes you don't have to go back and read the entire thing. Maybe if you chunked up paragraph 7, 8, and 9, just say for example, and wrote a little summary here, you would see your summary and then you wouldn't have to read the entire thing all over again. That'd be an easier way for you to find things as well. So those are steps numbers 1 through 5. Hopefully that was not too difficult and it was simplified for you and it made sense to you. And as I said, usually I recommend doing each step one at a time until you get really, really comfortable using these strategies, these steps in the strategy. After that, once you become more comfortable and it becomes a little easier for you, then you can read the article at once and do all the steps at once as you go through it. But first, again, I would recommend maybe the first 3 or 4 times. Just go through the steps one at a time, until you get a little more comfortable and becomes a little more efficient for you. And we'll move on to our activity that's being based off of this, as our next 2 pages will explain.